What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Go Talk with Marcus, powered by Podex, fueled by Goat Fuel. The NBA Finals are upon us. We're about 24 hours away, 23 hours and 56 minutes to be more specific, from tip-off of Game 1 of the NBA Finals. It's been a minute, but first off, joining on the show is JT and the Don, and unfortunately, the habitual pain on my side who can't use a phone, so he's on his computer today. Justin Marville, the hashtag thisJUSTin Sports Show. What's up, fellas? How we doing tonight?
Good, man.
Good, man. Thanks for having us on again.
It's just the mother of invention, and now I've realized that I've had an additional way of actually doing this stuff. So, yeah, awesome.
Yeah, well, when you have a producer for your show, you don't have to tap into all these different ways to produce your show. You just get to show up and ask questions. So, welcome to our world, Justin.
Hey, Justin. Justin, I'm not hating because I wish I was you, that we had producers and all these background people doing all that stuff.
I wish I could.
You've made it. You
have made it. It's an enviable position to be in, but the people at home don't care about Justin and all of his producer issues. What they care about is the Boston Celtics and the Golden State Warriors going head-to-head for the right to be called 2022 NBA champions. Look at the Celtics, swept the Nets, then dispatched of Justin's Bucks, I guess, because ever since he's moved to Wisconsin, he's become the biggest Giannis fan on the planet. And then they just most recently defeated JT's Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals. On the other side of things, the Warriors handled business just as I told everybody that they would, getting past the Nuggets, the Grizzlies, and the Mavericks, to make it to the finals. JC, I'll start with you since your team lost most recently. Which team's road to the finals was tougher? Was it Boston's in the East, or was it the Warriors in the West?
Well, I feel like you kind of answered your own question. The fact that you didn't even remember the teams that the Warriors beat, that lets you know that the Celtics had the tougher road. So, I mean, yeah, it's obviously them. First, they had to play the team that I'm pretty sure everyone on this panel was just screaming that nobody wanted to play the Nets, right? They had to play them first. Vegas favorites to win the Eastern Conference before the playoffs started. So they had to go through them. Then they had to go through us, number one seed in the East. They went through a murderer's row in the playoffs. Like, it wasn't even close as far as like which was harder. Like, you look at the other side of the bracket, everyone says Jokic sucks, Denver sucks, so they don't count. Dallas only had Luka, and I don't know what the hell happened to the Suns. So it's the Celtics by a mile having the toughest road to the finals.
Justin, what about you? Who had the tougher road to the finals, Boston or the Warriors?
Let's say it's always hard to get to the finals, so I won't discredit, what the Warriors did. Then you also went through like the two-time MVP in Nikola Jokic, but obviously on a very weakened Denver team. But like JD says, it's really the Boston Celtics, because the Eastern Conference appeared to be the heart of the two conferences this year. And then the combined experience that the Celtics played getting here, like you had to go through Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, who are both former champions. Then the defending champions themselves in the Milwaukee Bucks, who happen to have the best player in the world in Giannis. Then the Miami team, who is not 2 years removed from playing in the finals, with another champion in Kyle Lowry. Yeah, unless Kyle Anderson was like one of those title-winning Spurs, which I don't think he was, then it meant the Warriors didn't face anyone with any championship-winning experience. So, yeah, you have to see Boston, that you're going through Brooklyn, you're going through defending champion Bucks, and then the Miami Heat, who were the top seeds in the conference. Yeah, Boston.
Don, are you going clean sweep with Boston?
It is Boston, but it's not as clear as these guys say. I mean, Boston, they ran into a little bit of luck. Like, as we look at it, the Nets really weren't that good of a team. So you can say Denver wasn't that good of a team, but they did have the MVP. And then you look at Milwaukee. Let me tell you something. I truly believe if they had Middleton, we're talking about Milwaukee or Miami in the finals. So, yeah, they may have had the tougher road, which I think is hard to argue against, but it wasn't as difficult as everyone's making it to seem, because without Middleton, the Bucks were handicapped. There'd be no doubt. It'd be like the Celtics without Jaylen Brown. So, and then you get to the Heat. Granted, they didn't have Hero, but Lowry is I think someone said it, a shell of himself. So we're not even seeing the best version of the Heat. So to say that it's a huge gap, it's clear cut, I don't totally agree. I think the Celtics still had the tougher road, but it's not, looking back at it now, it's not as difficult as it looked. And actually, the Celtics allowed the Heat in Milwaukee to hang around when they really shouldn't have. So, yes, I've got the Celtics, but let's not be fooled. Like, JT, I disagree. They didn't go through murderer's row. Brooklyn, not that good as we see. Middleton not playing.
But you're playing Monday morning quarterback though. Like, were you not?
That was the question.
That
was the question.
No. But like, were you not jocking the Brooklyn Nets? Like, you're making it seem like they were a trash team. Like, was it the distractions they had? Like, it's still a good team.
Apparently were. I was totally wrong. I can admit, unlike you,
I'm wrong.
The Nets were a trash team.
No, say the full statement. You were what?
See, the difference between you and I gave you credit, and then I said you're not 100% right, but I gave you credit, and you gotta bring up old stuff. You gotta bring up old stuff.
Well, I ask you a question. Do you think if the Warriors played in the East, that they would automatically, like, 5-star lock if they'd be in the finals?
I don't think so, but at the same time, I would not say the Celtics are a lock either. It's because Middleton was hurt. Yes, if Middleton was hurt against the Warriors win.
Oh, Chris Middleton, the greatest player ever invented.
So
before you go, Dwayne, sorry. To be fair, though, the Warriors also encountered teams that were short-staffed. Like, Denver was ravaged with injuries.
But they have been all year. That's nothing new.
Right, John Morant.
Anything about there not being a Jamal Murray or Michael? That's not anything new. Which brings you to my point. I'm glad you said that, Justin. I think the Warriors had the tougher road to the finals, and it's to take nothing away from the Celtics, but the Celtics mopped the floor with the Brooklyn Nets. A Brooklyn Nets team that I said if they got past the Celtics, I thought would go to the finals because I thought KD and Kyrie was the best duo in the playoffs, and obviously they looked like trash. They sucked. So you get past them. I'm not of the mindset that the Celtics wouldn't have. I'm not of the mindset that the Bucks move on to the Eastern Conference Finals with Chris Middleton, because I still had the Celtics in 7, and that was, if I'm not mistaken, the Celtics swept the Nets before Chris Middleton got hurt, and I made that pick before then. So I was of the mindset that Celtics would get that job done in 7 anyway. And then, of course, your Miami Heat, JT, outside of Jimmy Butler, there's no offensive firepower whatsoever. Kyle Lowry, as Don said, like a shell of himself.
Captain Cardio, yeah, I agree.
Team went through murderer's row. I don't think either team went through a crazy road, and the argument can obviously be made, and all three of you made it. The argument can definitely be made that the Celtics had a tougher road, but the Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr. absence doesn't matter because they played basically the entire season without Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. The Warriors struggled immensely against the Memphis Grizzlies. Like, offensively, that was probably their toughest series. Of course, you got Luka, and he's playing by himself. But I still think that series alone makes up for the lack of talent and the lack of fight that the Mavericks had, and lack of fight that the Nuggets put up. Like, the Celtics, to Don's point, like, the Celtics could have finished the Bucks in 5. The Celtics could have finished the Heat in 5. They just, their own mistakes was the reason why both of those series went 7. This was the worst team either the worst or the second worst team in crunch time throughout the course of the playoffs. Like, they just struggled to put these teams away. You look at Game 7 specifically, they had multiple double-digit leads, and as soon as they got them, they went away just like that. Like, that's not that is the Celtics' own doing. If the Celtics keep their foot on the gas the entire game throughout any of those games after Game 4 in both of those series, neither of those series are going to 7 games.
But GQ Marcus, I'm sorry, he's trying to heat.
But hold on, like, you're seeing that, like, they willingly took the foot off the gas just because, like, this is who the Boston Celtics are, and it's not like they took the foot off the gas. It is the part of which we will get into later in the show. It is the reason why I don't want to pick them to win. Their offense is problematic. It's very flawed.
It's freaky. Freaky.
That's 100% fine, and I'm not denying that. But what I am saying though is it is the Boston Celtics' own fault as the reason why their second round and third round series went 7.
But that's where they are, and like, teams know. Let's take the ball out of Jayson Tatum's hands, because this team is an ISO heavy team that doesn't have very much connectivity in terms of playmaking, in terms of facilitating. So yeah, I get you, but that's who Boston is. So let's not act like, oh well, Boston just let these teams off the hook. Like that's who they are. Like that's what Milwaukee.
It's not that they let them off the hook. I'm not saying they let them off the hook. What I am saying is that their inability to be consistent, their inability to keep their foot on the gas is the reason why they went 7 with a team that, as Don mentioned, didn't have their closer. It is the reason why they went 7 with a team has nothing outside of Jimmy Butler. Like, that is Boston's fault. It's not that Boston's a bad team. It's not that they don't deserve to be here, because they do. Like, you beat who's in front of you, you get the job done. You win 4 of 7, you deserve to go to the next round. I'm not saying Boston doesn't deserve to be here, but what I am saying is a big reason why those last 2 series went to 7 is because they struggled to stay consistent. Like, let's be honest. We got the best of Boston in the first round, and then it was just up and down the rest of the way. Those last 2 series, those 2 teams weren't the Boston that Boston team we saw in the first round against the Nets, just manhandling Kyrie and Kevin Durant, and you know that. Like, so it's not. I'm not saying that they were just like, oh yeah, we're up 10 points. Let's just kind of chill out and relax and just coast. It's not that. It's that their lack of ability to stay focused and stay driven and finish the job and not be in situations where 3 minutes are left and all of a sudden you go from being up 15 to being up 2. Like, that's Boston's fault, and that's the reason why these series went long in the second round in the conference finals.
But this is where I disagree, because you're taking away credit from what the other teams do. Again, when you say they did what they manhandled Brooklyn, that is not to show that Brooklyn is an awful defensive team. And I warned Jimmy and I warned Don about this. They are
handling. Brooklyn has nothing to do with Brooklyn's defense and everything.
Because they're terrible defensively. So Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown could have their way, especially with those small guards.
I'm not talking about Boston's offense as far as them manhandling Brooklyn. I'm talking about their defense. They shut down 2 of the greatest players offensively we've ever seen in KD and Kyrie. That's their defense. That's what they did. And then,
right. Well, this is where I could get to. So then the other 2 teams, they present matchup problems, and that's why they were in a situation where they were. I warned you before, like, Giannis is a matchup problem for Boston, and Boston played them very well, and they're thankful that Middleton didn't play because they just needed one more 3-point shooter. Similarly with Miami, like, they have problems with bigger physical guards or bigger physical wing players like Jimmy Butler, and again, it's because Tyler Hero didn't play and they didn't have the consistent 3-point shooting. So I want to see, I get you where you're coming from, but it's not like Boston lost focus. It's just that this is how these teams played Boston and showed you the weaknesses on both sides of the ball. And we'll get into this later. I am giving Boston a shot to win these finals.
Marcus, I do think if someone would tell you, even looking back at it now, here's a 3-team list on each side, who would you rather have your favorite team play? Would it be Denver without those guys, Memphis without Ja Morant, and Dallas compared to Brooklyn with KD, probably the greatest scorer possibly of all time, and Kyrie, probably the best ball handler of all time. And then you've got Milwaukee and then also Miami. Like, I'm pretty sure most people would say, yeah, give me the West.
Yeah, well, sure, because on paper, like, the East was the tougher conference this season, and on paper, all of those teams, you can make an argument. All of those. And
you asked who had the tougher road,
sure,
not who played the best. No, who played down to their competition.
Yeah, if you just put the Denver Nuggets on a list, I don't care who else is in that group. I'm taking that side. Like that's the case closed.
What I'm saying is, I'm not saying that the teams in the West are better than the teams in the East. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying the teams that the Warriors played are better.
What it sounds like.
What I am saying though is that Boston is the reason. Boston's inability to stay consistent, as Justin mentioned, and then swerved away from it towards the tail end of his rant just now, is the reason why those last 2 series went to 7. And we can all, like, that
could it just be that those teams are good? Like, you're acting like Miami, but you're acting like Miami is trash and they weren't at full strength. Like, even if we have injuries, like, we have good coaching, we have players that know how to play. Like, it was always gonna be a tough matchup with us in Boston. Same thing with Milwaukee. Like, they just won the title last year. That's still a good team.
It's not that Milwaukee and Miami aren't good. It's that you were up multiple times in the multiple games by double digits.
What happened?
It does happen.
Speaking of the Warriors, that's literally how their dynasty started. They were down 3-1, and it happens. It's basketball. You're playing the same team.
You're right.
5 times.
That does happen. But what I'm saying is, when you struggle to close games, that makes series go long. That's all.
I tell you what. If Boston struggle against Denver, wouldn't have lasted as long if they were in the West.
But hold on, JT. But Marcus, one other thing I don't think anyone's brought this up is that they were without Marcus Williams and Robert Williams and Marcus Smart at one point. So talk about overcoming it.
They swept the Nets.
But overcoming adversity.
The Nets wanted to be swept. You can't use them but that's a weird situation.
That's just one series. Again, they were without Robert Williams and Marcus Smart in the Eastern Conference Finals, right?
Defensive players of the year, both of them.
They were without Marcus Smart and Al Horford in the first game. I'm not saying that they weren't. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm not even saying that the Celtics don't deserve to be here. I feel like that's kind of the perception. The Celtics absolutely deserve to be here. They flipped the switch at the turn of the calendar, and we'll talk about that later. They flipped the switch at the turn of the calendar, and it was an impressive thing to see. To go from being a middle of the pack team, and we're talking about they should split up JT and JB to go from that to be to representing the Eastern Conference in the finals is amazing. I'm not saying the Celtics are bad. I'm not saying the Heat are bad. I'm not saying the Bucks are bad. The Nets are bad, but that's different. What I am saying though is that the Celtics, I think, just because of their inability to close games made it tough. It's not that the teams that they played were also tough. Of course, the teams that they played were also tough. But the Celtics made it hard on themselves. Like when you don't have the second best player on that team, I don't care who it is, you have to finish that series sooner than 7. To me, at least, I don't know. Clearly, it's just me. I just feel a little bit like the Celtics shouldn't have been in 2 back-to-back 7-game series. And it's not because the Bucks and the Heat are bad. It's just because going into both of those series, even whether you want to include the injuries or not, the Celtics were the better team going into both of those 2 series. Like, regardless of what the ranking said, as we entered the series, the Celtics were better than the Heat coming off of their second-round series, and the Celtics were clearly better than the Bucks. Not clearly, but the Celtics were better than the Bucks going into their series in the Eastern Conference semis.
But I feel like those Warriors highlights got you really hyped up, man. You gotta stop watching ESPN.
What did Vegas say, Marcus? I'm pretty sure Vegas.
I get it though too. Like Klay Thompson's back. You feel like this is like a few years ago.
ESPN is and how terrible of a job ESPN does. I don't watch anything. I don't.
I'm pretty sure, Marcus, Vegas had the Heat as favorites in the Eastern Conference Finals.
The 1 seed's almost always the favorites.
No, Vegas didn't have the Heat as favorites.
They're the 1 seed. I don't think it's a wash, is all I'm saying. So we talked about, or I mentioned earlier, the Boston's turnaround from being 18-21, I believe, heading right before the All-Star break to flipping the switch and now making it to the finals. Whereas the Golden State Warriors have been out of the playoffs the last 2 years due to Klay Thompson's injury, and now they're back in the finals. I know the time's not the same, but a turnaround is a turnaround. And which turnaround is more impressive? Is it Golden State being back to the finals in their first trip back in the playoffs in the last 2 years, or is it Boston's turn of the new year this year? Don, I'll start with you.
Again, it's Boston, and couple reasons, and I've been saying this about Golden State. Like, I expected this from Golden State, and if you look at the turn of the new year, you might say, well, how did you expect it? Draymond was hurt, Klay wasn't back, but that's the thing. They had been superb up until then. Then Draymond got hurt, but you could see that team had something, right? Like, you could see once they got healthy, which I believe they always were going to get healthy because it happened, meaning the injuries and Klay Thompson rehabbing happened so early in the year that you could see this coming. And the West was weak. So it's actually a compliment to Golden State that I'm saying Boston had the more impressive turnaround, because this was expected from Golden State. These were the expectations, and that they could reach them. It was just a matter of health. Looking at Boston, since January 10th, they're 32-10. That's incredible. A lot of people had them left for dead come the turn of the new year, and they just put it into another gear, almost not even seen in past history. And then the other reason being that you look at how good defensively they are, but they haven't lost back-to-back games with Jayson Tatum since I think like January 19th. Let that sink in if you're playing them in a 7-game series. Like, the Heat saw that. That's all the Heat needed to do was win one back-to-back there, and they're going to the NBA Finals, and they just could not do it because the Celtics have some sort of chemistry, which, again, I doubted them. Again, I'm wrong. But they figured out a way to get it right. And now, to me, way more impressive, especially coming out of the East.
Go ahead, Justin.
Everything Don said, like first Golden State, they were almost expected. It was just health. You knew once Draymond in particular was healthy, once he got that back shored up, like you knew they were going to be good on both ends of the floor. Once Klay Thompson found his range again, and you have a superstar in Steph, a guy I'm sure the rest of you are going to call a top 10 player, but we'll get to that very shortly. Like this is expected, but to be 20-21 at one point, or 18-21 at one stage, right? You have a rookie head coach, a coach with absolutely no head coaching experience prior to this, huh? You're in the stronger Eastern Conference. And as Don said, you won 32 of your final 42 games in the East. Like, that's crazy. And on top of that, you don't have a legit superstar. I know a lot of people will think that Jayson Tatum is there, but I'm not sure if he's quite there yet. Like, Golden State has the experience of doing this before, but under rookie head coach to turn around, win 32 of your final 42 games, when it would have been so easy, right, to succumb to the pressure and say, hey, this is Ime's first season as coach. Let's just play this out. Or, let's package Jaylen Brown with, let's arguably Marcus Smart and see what we can get at the trade deadline. They did none of that. They stood pat. They made absolutely no changes to the roster other than adding Derek White. And this turnaround came, like, I don't discredit winning. So, like, what Golden State did to miss the playoffs 2 years in a row and be here is impressive. But it has to be Boston.
Go ahead, JT.
Yeah, I gotta agree with the guys, except for one thing you said, Justin. Yeah, I think Jayson Tatum's a superstar, and if you think Luka's a superstar, you gotta put Tatum in that same category too.
No, you don't.
I mean, hey, we're at home and he's not, so I can't argue with him.
Luka Doncic is an all-time great playoff performer already, and the only reason why he hasn't gone this deep in the playoffs before is because the first 2 times he's in his playoffs.
Bro, do not get me started on Luka and playoff performance.
He's been going up.
You falling for the same trap that we always fall for. He's ball dominant.
You guys
doesn't make his teammates better in the playoffs. Everything relies on him too much.
We've been going up against the 2 guys that we acknowledge, most people acknowledge, are 2 of, if not the best two-way defenders in the league. The first 2 times in the playoffs, in Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. That's number 1. Number 2, and against both of those guys, he was still averaging 40 points just about a game in 7-game series in both of those series.
All I gotta say is
Luka's playoff stats. He doesn't have. Yes, you're right.
You can give me all the PFF stats you want on Luka Doncic. They're pretty, they're beautiful. Averages look nice, but all I gotta say is every time he balls out in the playoffs, he has a losing record. That's all that matters. But back to what they were saying.
So did Michael Jordan up until 1991.
Well, until he becomes Michael.
Go ahead, JT. That's okay. Go ahead. Get to the answer.
Until he becomes Michael Jordan, until he becomes that Michael Jordan.
Not a
after
Luka
that,
Doncic
it don't matter.
Question. Go ahead, bro.
He's wrong, so he's already out.
Bringing a top 10 question while we are bringing a completely different player who has nothing to do but go right ahead, JT.
Well, you completely altered the.
But I agree. I agree with them. I do think the Celtics had the tougher road for all the reasons they said. I think the one thing Justin hit on a great point. I think the one thing that's really being overlooked is this first year with new head coach. Like, he's never been a head coach before. Like, for you to be in a situation where everybody left you for dead, and then after the All-Star break, you guys were like, all right, cool, let's click into another gear, and they actually respond, and this is what happens. Like, props to him. That right there is impressive. And then Don mentioned it, the injuries. Like, they've suffered injuries to 3 guys that are literally like all defensive type players, like Williams, Smart, Horford. Like, that's why they're number 1 in NBA defensive efficiency, is because those guys right there to go along with the 2 big wings in Brown and Tatum. So them overcoming major injuries, the first-year head coach, and then also, too, I don't know if you mentioned it tonight, but I know Don's mentioned this before, so it's stuck in my head. Like, them folding is what Boston has been known for. Like, Boston is always like, all right, they do well, we give them a little bit of hype, and then they just disappoint us like we expect. And you keep chipping away as a young team, and everybody keeps anointing you as a star. Like, there's pressure on you. So, like, Boston's had this pressure to perform and not blow it and not fold. So I think you pile all that on top of what the guy said. Like, the Celtics, is a way more impressive one than the Warriors, because the Warriors have been here before. Like, we always knew if they were healthy and playing right, this is a possibility, especially in the West. So I'm not really all that impressed with what the Warriors are doing, because I've seen this before.
Before you get in here, Dwayne, I just want to add one last point. Sorry. There are 3 teams, I think, all time who had, like, up at that halfway point, a losing record, and then still won 50 games. I can't remember the other 2. I think it's a Lakers team, a 2002 Lakers team, and another team before that. But Boston is the only one to have made it to the finals. I know they're 4 wins away from becoming a losing team at the halfway point. To this, like, you're 4 wins away from winning the title. It's hell of impressive. This is something that we literally have never seen before.
Like, somebody could be a millionaire in Vegas. They would have betted on this as a parlay. Like, that's the impressive part.
I'm not gonna beat on a dead horse. I'm just gonna take this time to toot my own horn and say that once again I told Justin back in August that the Warriors were going to be in the finals over his Phoenix Suns, and he
told you that, Justin? Dang, you should have told us. We could have went to Vegas and made a lot of money.
Yeah,
This
man,
is all
you gotta tell us this stuff, Marcus.
Yeah,
that's what
man.
we live for.
So let's talk about X factors, because we all know that series come down to matchups, but more importantly, series comes down to X factor. I'm not even going to start with Justin, because Justin gave me a rant about who his X factor is on Monday. I don't want to hear that again. So JT, we'll start with you. Who will be the X factor of the finals this year?
To be honest with you, I don't even know. Like, legit. You can go so many different ways with this. Like, the easy answer could be Marcus Smart. It could be somebody else. I mean, everybody could be an X factor, but I'm gonna go outside the box, and I think the X factor in this series is not even going to be a player. I think it's going to be Steve Kerr. And Don, I know you always saying I don't give Steve Kerr credit, but I'm going to give him credit today. Main stat that matters to me as an X factor in this matchup is Warriors have, I think, 123 games of playoff experience, finals experience on their roster to Boston's 0. So when you have that bigger discrepancy, it's going to come down to the coaches. So I think Steve Kerr has been here before. He knows what to do, and it's the Celtics coach first year. So I think the coaching on the Warriors side is going to be the biggest X factor in the finals.
Go ahead, Don.
I've kind of read your mind, or you read my mind, whichever way, but I look at it as the other coach. I think it's the Celtics coach. I think it's Ime here, because he's the one that is the rookie, right? And he's gone through 2 NBA champion coaches, right? Spo and Budenholzer over in Milwaukee, right? So the question is, can he do it again on the biggest stage? He's been coaching lights out, I think, and to stop Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond, the 123 playoff games of experience, he's got to show up. He can't be Jason Kidd. He can't be Steve Nash. Like, he needs to ball out as a coach, because there's going to come a time where the Warriors figure it out, they go on a run, or they figure out a weakness on Boston that they can take advantage of. And the question's going to be, can he stop the bleeding? Can he get leverage and get momentum back, whether it's in that game or the next game or the rest of the series? And, it's great when you have all these great players, but guess what? Golden State has a really good offense and a really good coach and a great team, obviously, right? A dynasty. So I think it's up to Ime. Will the stage be too big for his coaching? I think that's the X factor in this series.
So you basically calling him Rocky. So, like, it's Rocky. He's going.
Hey, Rocky went the distance.
Creed.
Rocky went the distance.
I feel like that's why you're picking him, though. Like, you want to see the underdog win.
I mean, I'm a Warriors fan. No, I want the Warriors to win. But if
you're a Warriors fan now, so that Magic jersey you got behind you just don't count now?
Oh, listen, Magic are my number 1 team, but I'm a Warriors fan in this instance, yes.
All right, Justin, I'll let you bore the American people again with your very long rant about why you have Marcus Smart. No, excuse me, Time Lord. No, excuse me. What's his name? Daniel Tice as your X factor for the finals. Please elaborate.
Oh, I gotta hear this.
No, he's crazy. I don't know what he's doing. But first, let me say this, Dawn. I'm disappointed. No person over the age of 30 should be a Warriors fan unless you live in Golden State or
you became a Bucks fan last year, Justin.
Fair First of all,
Listen.
you just can't put his age out there like that. For all you know, he could be 27. You don't know that.
Are you talking about my man Don? See, this is every time I get the four of you guys on the show together, this always happens. JT and Justin, you always want to jump me, and then you think you just jump Don, and I'm not going to say anything about it. Justin, answer the question and stop chastising Don.
I just can't handle a man over 30 being a Warriors.
You became
Listen, hold on. You
Yes,
missed the whole understanding. I'm rooting for the Warriors, and what's there not to love about their basketball, man? They changed the game. Plus, I'm a Magic fan. Let's get that clear.
Yeah, so his cheering for teams stops about November.
I'm allowed to root for every other team because yes, by Thanksgiving it's over.
There's a draft lottery, so there's always that. So he has a chance.
We got it.
They almost messed that up too.
Chet, welcome to the team, Chet.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, I said it Monday night, and I'm gonna say it again. It's Andrew Wiggins, and it's not because of his scoring. And I looked it up, and he is averaging an impressive 16 points and 7 rebounds on 48% from the field. But as I told Dwayne before,
what are those free throw numbers? Because they've been horrible.
Thank you. Let's talk about
They've been horrible.
Thank God he didn't.
Hackle Wiggins is in the works, people. Hackle Wiggins.
But it's the other end of the floor. And I told Dwayne and the other guests I had on, this series for me is going to come down to, can Boston get Jayson Tatum switched on to Steph Curry and Jordan Poole? That's what they need to do. They need to attack those defensive liabilities because Boston does not have a free-flowing offense. It's ISO heavy. And for that to work, they're going to need Jayson Tatum or Jaylen Brown to attack those weak links. It all comes down to me. If Golden State can keep Andrew Wiggins attached to Jayson Tatum, then I don't think Boston has a chance. And they did that in the conference finals. You saw them, Dallas runs that high pick and roll, just one pick and roll. And what Golden State did, they kind of showed hard and allowed Wiggins to recover. So he always stood attached to Luka. And I think that's what they need to do here against Boston, because you don't want Jordan Poole, you don't want Steph Curry, because we saw what happened when Jayson Tatum got against those small guards in Brooklyn.
Can we acknowledge the fact, real quick, Don? Can we also acknowledge the fact that the Dallas Mavericks offensively play 1-on-5, and the Boston Celtics offensively play 5-on-5? And I thought about it on Monday. I didn't say a word. You listen, Andrew Wiggins, I think he's had some people fooled because he's an all-star and that's fantastic, but he's only an all-star because Klay was hurt for the first half of the season. Number one. Number two, and more importantly, okay, you can stay attached. You can stay attached to Luka Doncic offensively because Maxi Kleber and Boban Marjanovic and Dorian Finney-Smith and all those guys in Dallas aren't a threat with the ball in their hands. Clearly, we saw that.
Or without the ball.
You stay attached to Jayson Tatum. Trust and believe me, Jaylen Brown's going to hit his open shots. He's no Reggie Bullock. Marcus Smart, as much as he was jacking up shots in Game 7 like he was the 15th coming of Steph Curry, he's going to hit his open shots too. Al Horford's going to hit his open shots. So is Derek White. Like you
went too far. Derek White, you got too much faith in him.
I'm saying it's relative to the Mavericks. The point that I'm making, though, is that the Celtic offense, although we might bash on it because it's really relying on set plays and it's only really a half-court offense, the fact of the matter is the Celtics offense is more prolific than the Mavericks offense. And
so to my point, Boston's offense is just ISO. They're unlike
you would Dallas's offense over Boston's offense is what you're saying.
Went because the difference between the two is that Dallas has an elite playmaker. Boston doesn't have that. So
what does it matter if you have an elite playmaker if you make a play and they miss wide open shots? I don't care how elite of a playmaker. If teammates miss wide open shots, then the pass means nothing, does it not?
But again, so going back to Boston, though, Boston relies on Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown going one-on-one. They're going to try to get screens because their offense is not free-flowing. There's not a lot of passing involved. They are going to try to target Steph Curry and Jordan Poole. Watch the games. This is going to happen. And
I'm not denying that. What I am denying, though, is that Andrew Wiggins staying attached to Jayson Tatum is going to make a difference. That's what I'm saying.
Because we saw it in the Brooklyn series. The moment that you let Jayson Tatum or Jaylen Brown get at those small guards, and believe that Golden State has a ton of small guards.
Brooklyn hasn't been able to play defense for 3 years, Justin.
Steph Curry and Jordan Poole are defensive liabilities. You do not want that. So
Okay,
again,
Brooklyn can't play defense from the 1 through the 5 and all 6 on the bench. I don't.
right. So that's what I'm trying to tell you. You don't want, and that's what they did. You saw Jayson Tatum headhunted Kyrie Irving. He headhunted Steph Curry. He headhunted Patty Mills. You don't want a situation where Jayson Tatum has an ability to switch off as Steph Curry and Jordan Poole. And that's why I said they're going to show hard on those screens so that Andrew Wiggins can go under and recover in time. And I think that is a ploy. And I think it comes down to that matchup. Can Golden State keep Andrew Wiggins attached at all times and don't switch? I think that's where the series comes down.
I'm willing to bet Jayson Tatum in any given game where Andrew Wiggins is primary defender. If it's the entire game, he'll drop 25 in that game.
25 is not 40.
That's fine, but he'll drop 25, and Jaylen Brown will have 25, and Marcus Smart will have 15, and Al Horford will have 15, and that's a lot worse than Maxi Kleber having 2, Reggie Bullock having.
Don't forget about Derek White,
Dorian Finney-Smith having 0, and Luka having 40. Like there's a difference. Anyway, sometimes, Justin, you don't like Max Kellerman, but sometimes you remind me of Max Kellerman sometimes a little bit.
I'm going to leave the show now. Good night, everyone.
I agree with Don. I think that the coaching is going to make a difference. The last 3 times that the Golden State Warriors have lost in the finals, it's been to rookie head coaches. Ty Lue in 2016, Nick Nurse in 2019, and or the last 2 times, excuse me. And now here they are again against a rookie head coach. That's a tall task. I also said on Monday, though, that unfortunately for this rookie head coach, he doesn't have an all-time great player to coach, at least not yet. Ty Lue had LeBron, and Nick Nurse had Kawhi Leonard. It makes things a little bit easier when you have an all-time great head coach.
I would argue a little bit Kawhi being an all-time great, knowing what we know now.
In that playoff he was.
But go
in the moment.
You can say that. You can say that about a Tatum in the moment. But go ahead.
Well,
he wasn't doing what Kawhi was doing.
I mean, I don't. Okay. We could debate. We could
he wasn't
debate
doing
that,
it like Kawhi was.
We could debate.
We can have a separate debate about that another day. I do think, though, that the 123 combined games for a finals experience for Golden State is going to make a difference, specifically for Steve Kerr, because Steve Kerr has experience as a player and a coach. He's been on both sides of this. He knows what it takes to win. But Golden State's just the better team. So it's going to be interesting to see exactly how all of this unfolds. Switching gears, let's talk specifically about the Golden State Warriors, and this is probably going to be my most enjoyed segment of the show. We've heard all the talks about Steph and Magic Johnson leading up to these finals as it pertains to where Steph ranks all time. I'm not going to ask Justin because his top 10 list is blasphemous because it includes Bill Russell. JT, Bill Russell is not a top 10 player all time, Justin. He was
crazy
when they were 11 teams in the league. No, you're crazy for stop it. JT, Don, it doesn't matter who goes first. If Steph Curry wins a championship this season, is he a top 10 player all time?
Go ahead, JT.
Yeah. I don't think there's no doubt about it because for a few things, Don already mentioned this. Like this, you're talking about a person that revolutionized the game. Like there was a point where 3-pointers weren't even a thing. Like you couldn't even do it. Now, like you can't have an NBA game or a basketball game anywhere in the world from pro to street ball without it. So who's responsible for that? It's Steph Curry. Like everybody want to be like Steph Curry. Like the reason LA Fitness has so many terrible ass games and terrible ass players is because of Steph Curry. Like that's legendary type stuff. And then also I know like in real life he's not a small guy, but like in basketball terms he is. And like when you look at the small guards, like how many of them win and have as many rings as like Steph Curry does? Like just guards, period. Like if you look at all the players that have like the most rings that are like also superstars, like there's not many guards at the top of that list. Like it's really just Jordan and Kobe. Like any other guard, they're just like tag-alongs in like that Celtics dynasty back in the day where he said Bill Russell don't count. But other than that, like there's not a long list of guards that are just like out there winning championships and they're like the main engine that makes it go. It's like Jordan, Kobe, and now Steph Curry. So you're talking about, and Isaiah Thomas, obviously, but like you're talking about he's in that type of company as a guard, and like he's the engine that makes the team go, and he revolutionized the game. Like he's all time great, and he's still doing it now. Yeah, I mean you have to put him in the top 10 at this point. I mean, what else would he have to do? Like you got to win 5 more rings. Like that's impossible. Like what else could Steph Curry do to not be a top 10 player?
Well, just me personally before Don goes, everybody in my top 10 has at least 2 championships and 2 finals MVPs. Go ahead, Don.
Yeah, but everybody who's on your list, their story is probably already done, right?
Well, Marcus answered your question. You asked, what else can he do?
Hey, look, I'm not talking to you. Hey,
I'll answer your question.
We're on your show. You're talking to all of us.
All of them
disrespectful to Justin.
All of them except for LeBron James. Their careers are done.
Who's easy? I feel like Steph Curry is basically LeBron. Like that's what he is with more rings.
Wow.
So Steph Curry and LeBron, their impact on the game of basketball.
The answer.
I feel like it's equal.
Let me answer your first question. I'll answer that question. Your first question was, why does that not matter? Well, it's because my top 10, like I said, have at least 2 Finals MVPs. They've led their teams to championships. This would be, you can make an argument, the first time that Steph Curry leads the Golden State Warriors to a championship.
Oh, come on, man.
That's not accurate. In 2017, he wasn't the best player on that team.
Come on, man.
Kevin Durant was the best player on that team. I'll give you 2016, though, then win the finals. I'll give you that one. But that matters. That matters. All-time great players lead their team to championships. That's a fair thing to say.
Come on, man. I feel like serious cap on you trying to discredit Steph Curry, man. Like this dude is all-time great.
I tell people all the time, I'm not saying that Steph Curry is not an all-time great player. I'm not saying that when his career is done, he won't be top 10. I'm not. And I hate talking about Steph Curry's legacy because he is probably the most liked superstar in history. And it's so hard to say something about Steph Curry without it seeming like disrespect.
I disagree. The most liked superstar is Kevin Durant, which is why he gets zero criticism.
Kevin Durant gets all types of criticism from all players. Kevin Durant got crucified for leaving OKC to go to Golden State. Kevin Durant Kevin Durant fails all the time. I feel like he doesn't get the smoke. Chris Paul fails all the time, doesn't get any smoke. Like Steph Curry is not. Steph Curry is liked because he's earned it. Like let's get that straight. Like he's earned it. We're splitting hairs at that point as far as that's concerned. The point, all I'm saying is it's not disrespectful.
Top 10, you do split hairs, but go ahead.
But what I'm saying is, in the history of basketball, it is not disrespectful of all the players that ever stepped foot on a basketball court to say that Steph Curry right now is top 15, and that another.
Right, so we'll do this on your list. You don't even got to tell me who's on it. How many guards are on that list?
2.
Who are they? Magic and who?
MJ. There's 3.
MJ, right?
3. I'm sorry. There's 3.
Okay. Who are the 3? Magic, MJ, and who else?
It's Magic, Kobe, and MJ.
Okay. So you're trying to tell me you don't think Steph Curry, from everything he's done in his career, also like what he's done for the game of basketball, doesn't deserve to be in that tier of guard?
It's not. See, okay, but for me, it's not about what he's done for the game of basketball. It's about being a basketball.
I'm saying his whole everything. Because this way, like
you want to talk about
the reason you have those guys in there are because they're all-time great players, but it's also because their legacy of what they've done for the game of basketball. Like all those guys revolutionized basketball in some way, and they were winners.
I'm not denying that, but what I'm saying is, if you want to talk about guys that have revolutionized the game of basketball, of course Steph Curry's top 10. You would be an idiot to not think so. Of course, Steph Curry has a face on the Mount Rushmore of guys that have revolutionized basketball. But for me, I'm talking strictly like just playing basketball. And I don't think that one more championship in his first Finals MVP for me is enough when all the guys in my top 10 have at least 2 and 2. They've doubled up. Like if he wins a chip next year and he's got 2, then yeah, you put him in there. But like I don't think a championship this season, which would be his 5th. And I will
confidently say this. Steph Curry could win 2 more championships in the next 5, and he'll never be in your top 10. You're going to always be moving the goalposts. I feel like the reason you're doing it, you won't admit it, is the same reason why I'm saying he is a top 10 player. It's because he's the likable small guard. It's a babyface assassin. It's like, oh, everything he does is so cute. No, he's been out there killing people, and he's changed the game, and he's about to win another ring. Like, you have to give this guy his props.
I have Steph Curry and the Warriors winning 2 of the next 3 championships. They'll probably win 3 of the next 5. You get a second Finals MVP, then you're a top 10 player. That's the argument that I'm making. The top 10, the guys in my top 10.
So
Marcus, who's your 6 real quick? Who's your 6 through 10?
My 6 through 10 in no specific order is Kobe, Shaq, Larry Bird, Hakeem Olajuwon, and and I'm blanking on the last guy right now.
All right, cool. That Curry could be in there right there.
I mean, no disrespect to Akeem, but if we stepping onto the playground, right, and we taking the best 10 on the court, you have everyone in NBA history from all years. You are not picking Akeem over Curry. If we stepping on a pickup basketball game, you're taking Akeem over Curry?
Oh, the best 3-point shooter ever. Come on.
Akeem may not even be top 5 center of all time.
When y'all are done with the generalizations and the sentiments and the revolutionizing things, y'all can call me. And I will
point.
know y'all are doing.
It is not.
Go after me, Justin.
What I'm saying is having Curry in your top 10 is not crazy. I'm not saying that it is absurd, insane, asinine to have Curry as a top 10 player of all time. What I'm saying for me personally is having Steph Curry, as much as it is not insane to have him in your top 10, I think it is equally as not insane to not have him in your top 10. Which is why I said earlier that talking about Steph Curry's legacy is such a difficult thing for me to do personally, because you say Steph Curry's not top 10, and then you say you're different.
I think you put too much emphasis on final MVP. I really think you are.
Justin, I'm not.
Justin, you are.
Last thing I'll say before Don goes. Justin and Germ got on me about this earlier today. On Monday, and it's fair. Look, I don't know basketball without LeBron James and Steph Curry and Kobe Bryant. Like I didn't live to see 8 of the guys that I have in my 7, because I saw Shaq, but I didn't see good Shaq. I saw Phoenix Shaq. That's not good Shaq.
That ain't even Shaq.
I saw Boston Shaq. That's not good Shaq. But like what I'm saying, it's really, I don't know. I don't think it's crazy to not have him in your top 10. I don't think it's crazy to have him in your top 10. I really just think it's a preference thing. And while you say that maybe I'm putting too much weight on finals MVPs, I can make that same argument for guys that say that Jordan's better than LeBron because Jordan has 6 rings and LeBron has 4. Like,
when I say you put too much emphasis on finals MVPs, like Kevin Durant got a finals MVP, right?
He has 2. Yeah,
he got 2, right?
Okay.
If he's playing anywhere other than Golden State, does he get 1 finals MVP? Golden State, Steph Curry and all those guys being great players allow KD to be a 2-time finals MVP.
Those 2 years, he was the best player in basketball because Kevin Durant.
He was playing on the best team that was already loaded and whooped his ass the year before.
Because Kevin Durant is the only guy in the NBA.
What has Kevin Durant done outside of being with the Warriors?
Let me answer your question. Let me answer the first question, then I'll answer that one. There's no guy in basketball in those 2 years that you could have picked up off of their team and put on that team in 17 and 18 and would have just seamlessly worked without the other guy having to alter his game drastically. Kevin Durant fit in that system seamlessly.
So you don't think if they would have put LeBron on that team, they wouldn't have won a championship?
That's not what I said. I didn't say they wouldn't have won a championship. What I said was Kevin Durant's the only guy in the league in 17 and 18 that you could have put on that team, and his play wouldn't have had to change. Of course, if you put LeBron with Steph Curry, they win a championship. Of course, if you put a Kawhi Leonard with Steph Curry, they're going to win a championship. You put Steph Curry with Giannis Antetokounmpo, they're going to win a championship. I'm not denying that, because when you put superstars together, that's what superstars do. They win championships.
Thank you, Marcus. I know you're young. But
is that my
name, Marcus? I know you very young, and you still got the waves and all that stuff like that. You got the H&M shirt. But I'm gonna tell you this right now: when LeBron came to Miami and played with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, like anybody that's an NBA superstar, that's in a team with really good all-time good players can make it work. Like it might seem like KD was like the only person that could just fit into this matrix. A lot of NBA superstars could have gone there and been seamless. Look at Miami. Nobody thought Dwayne Wade and LeBron James could work. They literally play the same way, and they fit seamlessly.
They also didn't win their first year because there took some.
Because LeBron choked. That's
because they literally had to rebuild the team, though. Mark,
they had to restructure. That's fine. Listen, what I'm saying is, of course, you put a great play with another great player to win a championship. I'm not gonna argue with that. I'd be arguing with the wall if I said that. That's a dumb argument to make. All I am saying though is Kevin Durant got to leave OKC and go to Golden State and still be Kevin Durant, and Steph Curry got to still be Steph Curry, and Clay got to be Clay, and Draymond got to be Dre. You put LeBron James on that team, Something's gonna have to give between LeBron James and Steph Curry.
You put James Harden, you switch James Harden with Kevin Durant on that team, like it's the same thing. You'd be sitting here saying like, oh, he might have got a Finals MVP. He fit seamlessly. It's Steph Curry. Steph Curry is the reason why it's allowed to happen. Like KD already showed you he can't do it by himself.
The result may have been the same, but James Harden in 2017 and 2018 led the league in usage percentage both years. That would not have fit seamlessly. That would not have fit seamlessly. You put James Harden anywhere with another guy that's on the ball more often than not, it doesn't fit seamlessly.
Well, we're not talking about fat James Harden. We're talking about like that James Harden, that dude.
It didn't work with him and Russell Westbrook, and that's why it didn't work with him and Chris Paul, because something had to give, and James didn't want to give. That's why
those guys didn't have Draymond Green and Klay Thompson.
Dude, the lights at the ball. Exactly.
I'm not talking about the entire roster construction. I'm talking about specifically the guy that's going to have the ball in his hand.
Why do you think Brooklyn got destroyed by the Celtics? You know why? Because there's only two of them.
You're right.
They had nobody else to go to. So guess what? One of those two failed, it's over. Brooklyn
got destroyed by the Celtics because of poor roster construction. Anybody could have destroyed.
And that's exactly what Golden State didn't have. Yeah. Marcus, you're having me agree with JT. This is killing me.
I'll say this one thing. I don't want to hold up this time. I'll say this one thing. Imagine you're playing the Warriors, right? Back when your GOAT KD is playing and winning these two Finals MVPs, right? The best ever.
He's not the best
Steph Curry's having a bad night. Klay Thompson's having a bad night. You still got Draymond and KD that are cooking. Like that's the worst case scenario. Like that is the best situation in sports history. Like KD was lucky. He knew what he was doing.
A word of opposition about how supremely talented the roster was. I'm not denying that. I am simply talking about being able to pick up and drop a single player from one style of play into another and it work. Without any other player on the team, including the player that you're picking up and dropping, to alter their game.
Andrew Wiggins fit seamlessly.
Andrew Wiggins fit seamlessly because Klay Thompson wasn't there for the first half. I'm not. We can do this later. Go ahead, Doug.
Well, I think Marcus, in the rest of the national media, they always put this emphasis on the NBA Finals MVPs and titles, and I don't buy into that argument because NBA MVP Finals is voted on, right? And voters get it wrong sometimes. So the fact that Curry's won 3 championships, no MVPs.
How many in Steph Curry's career have they gotten it wrong as far as him being Finals MVP outside of the first one?
What I'm saying is you're putting an emphasis on an award. Like, to me, that just it doesn't matter whether he's been screwed about it or not. Like, yeah, Iguodala, maybe he could have won it. Sure, that may have been a right vote, but it could have went to Curry, right? So he'd have won. But what I'm saying is, why are we putting so much emphasis on that award? Like, what's it matter? So basically what you're saying is you win a sweep, go 4-0. Iguodala has the 4 nights of his life, but Curry has 12 wins plus 82. He has 94 games of excellence. And you're going to say, because those 4 nights, Iguodala scored 35 and you scored 34 and he got the MVP. Like, what I'm saying is, why is that the benchmark? And then the whole how many titles to this, like, to me, I never bought into that with MJ and LeBron because MJ would have lost to the 2007 San Antonio Spurs with that Cleveland Cavaliers team. So what's it matter how many titles you have? So if those are the 2 benchmarks, then I guess he's not in your top 10. But to me, that's not my benchmark. Curry, greatest shooter of all time, greatest 3-point shooter of all time. Are we just going to kind of skim over that? Like, that's what basketball is. Shooting, scoring. Like, he is the greatest. There's no denying it. He is the best 3-point shooter of all time, and his range is unlimited. Guys like Trae Young are being drafted in the first round because of him. And I know that shouldn't matter, revolutionizing the game as far as being in the top 10. And I agree with that. But when you then sit down and really look at what he's done, again, I think he belongs with those guys. When you say Kobe, right? Like, Curry has surpassed a guy like Allen Iverson, which guys were comparing to Kobe. Like, no, it's Curry, Kobe. Like, he's in that mix of top 10 because, Marcus, I also put Kevin Durant in the top 10. So I don't know who your number 10 guy is, but I've got Durant and Curry there, and their careers aren't even done. And again, I just don't buy the benchmark. Like, the question is, if he wins another one, is he in the top 10? In my opinion, at the end of his career, even if he doesn't win another title, Steph Curry is in the top 10. I would even put him in now without this championship because it's just, to me, he's a top 10 guy. Doesn't mean in 20 years he'll still be top 10 because Giannis is coming up and other guys are coming up. But right now, even without this title, what does it matter? Like, the guy is Steph Curry. He does what he does.
The thing I emphasized throughout the course of my rant was that Steph Curry hasn't led multiple teams to champion. He hasn't led multiple championship teams to championships. That was the emphasis. It wasn't so much about the lack of hardware.
What do you mean by led? Because he's got 3 titles, right?
Finals MVP. That's what the lead.
No, it's that he hasn't been. I mean, if you want to, by proxy, that's what it is. Sure, but Don, you're 100% right. People get voting wrong. That's why Nikola Jokic is a back.
What do you mean by led his team? Like, because to me, for the whole season, it's KD and Curry, and then yes, KD takes the last shot, but it doesn't mean that Curry didn't lead that team.
Hasn't been. Well, I mean, that's a fair opinion. That's a fair thing to say. But I think that Kevin Durant was undeniably the best player on the Warriors in 2017 and 2018 when they won the championship. 2019, injured. I mean,
I don't think it's an MJ Pippen thing. This is way closer to
no,
that. You're making it sound like MJ Pippen. Curry ain't no Pippen to Durant.
I'm not saying it. I'm saying those years, Kevin Durant was the better player, and he led that team. Sure, it was Steph Curry's team because he'd been there longer and that he had already been synonymous with the Warriors franchise and the Warriors branding, of course. But those years individually, 17, 18, and 19, if KD doesn't get hurt and they win the championship that year too, Kevin Durant was the best player on all 3 of those teams, in my personal opinion. That's all. And that's literally all I'm saying. Is
Durant in your top 10?
No, he's not. He's in top.
I want to know who this 10th guy is. Multiple championships and 2 NBA Final MVPs. I'm running out of guys. Tim Duncan? You gonna put Tim Duncan in the top 10? No offense, but you gonna put Tim Duncan?
I have to think about it and get back to you. Justin, close your eyes and shut your mouth because you have Bill Russell in your top 10. That's insane. Go ahead.
He got all the hardware.
Justin, I'm not hating on the Bill Russell. You at least have an argument.
Well, Bill Russell has 11 championships and there were 8 guys in the league, and like.
Wow.
All right, but hold on, guys.
I got Wilt in the top 10, but go ahead, Justin.
So I've listened to y'all, right? And even if you don't give me Bill Russell, right? I'll name you the 10 who are still better than Steph Curry. In no particular order: Michael Jordan, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, LeBron James, Magic Johnson, Wilt Chamberlain, Larry Bird, where am I looking? Tim Duncan, Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe Bryant, and Hakeem Olajuwon. Now, the reason why all of these players, right, are better than Steph Curry is, I'm going to talk, Don and JT. Of course, finals MVPs matter. You know why they matter? It means on the biggest stage, you proved that you were the best player on that stage. And that matters. You know why? You're not separating Steph Curry from Kevin Garnett. You're not separating Steph Curry from Robert Horry. You are talking about the 10 best players. And it's not a mythical land. If you put and I name these 10 best players, they're accolades. And it's not this. I hate this. And this is why I stay out these arguments. I hate these things that you can't quantify, like he revolutionized the game. What the hell does that mean? I can't quantify that. But you know what I can quantify? I can quantify accolades and awards. And what Steph Curry doesn't have, that the other 10 I just named, not named Bill Russell, he doesn't have a finals MVP. Furthermore, if you don't want to include finals MVP, let's forget that. You know what? Steph Curry pales in comparison to those other 10 players, all NBA first teams. Please tell me those don't matter too. I know the reason why those matter. Those tell me that while you played with your peers, that you were undoubtedly the best. Steph Curry in 12 years, the same as Magic Johnson, in 13 years, one more than Magic Johnson played, the same as Larry Bird, has less than half of their all NBA selections. Magic has 9. Larry Bird has 9.
Just for the record, before Justin continues his rant, I do want to the faces that you guys are making, JT and Don. That's the face I made to Justin on Monday when he brought that up, because I did point out to Justin that Magic and Bird ran the 80s, and then his response to me was, "Oh, well, guess who was drafted in '84?" As if MJ and Barkley and Olajuwon had a print in. Justin didn't care about the 80s and Magic Johnson and Larry Bird and their all
taking any
and the 80s
from somebody who was not even alive in the 80s. I did not see it. So I'm not taking that 80s slander. Then I saw the 80s.
Not slandering the 80s. I'm slandering your argument that Jordan on Monday have any effect on Magic Johnson and his greatness.
Steph Curry does not compare. Steph Curry has 4 all NBA first teams, just 4. LeBron has 13. Kobe Bryant has 11. Mike has 10. Kareem has 10. Duncan has 10. Magic has 9. Bird has 9. Shaq has 8, and Wilt has 7. And you're trying to tell me that this man is better than those dudes? There is nothing outside of team accomplishments that Steph Curry has above that. If you're trying to tell me this guy is top 10, who is he better than? Because the accolades tell me he is not on their level.
You're missing it. It's not just accolades. Pull up the stats. And when you talk about Tim Duncan and Hakeem on that list and accolades, is it the writers voting for it or the players? It doesn't matter, because there is a bias toward Curry because he's not 6'6", because he's not muscular, because he's not 7'3", because he doesn't dunk, because he's not flashy. Do you understand, Justin? Do you understand? Do you understand the future of the game is Steph Curry's?
Hold on.
And that's why the list will change.
Real quick, Justin, I just want to say this one thing real quick. You talk about Steph Curry not being 6'6". All these guys we named that are 6'6" plus in the top 10, none of them have the one thing that Steph Curry does have, and that's the only unanimous MVP in the history of the game. So I don't want to hear anything about there being bias against Steph Curry, because he's got the one thing.
What did he have to do to get that award, though?
Yeah,
hold on. In the history of basketball,
Steve Nash literally got a second MVP for scratching. I ain't gonna say the word on your show, but I'm just saying, like you want to talk about it, there is bias, and that's why I started off this whole conversation. Is the bias against Steph Curry is, and Don, you brought up a great point about it's voting and the writers. People love freak athletes, which is why they also get the most criticism. That's why people love LeBron and Jordan. Like, they're freak athletes. Curry is not a freak athlete. He's a small guy.
Of not being a freak athlete. He just played. Tim Duncan's not a freak athlete. He's just
he's big. He is. He's a large human. He is a freak
athlete. Marcus, again, Tim Duncan got a majority of those selections at power forward when it was a whole different game back then. Power forward meant power forward. Nowadays, I would consider LeBron a power forward, and there's no way Duncan's getting those first team selections over LeBron. But LeBron again is reclassified. So
it's not Tim Duncan's fault though.
And it's not Steph Curry's fault that he's 6 whatever, but he can shoot out of the gym.
You're right. I don't want to hear anything about there being bias against Steph Curry when nobody in the history of basketball now, or probably ever is ever to be a unanimous MVP.
But that's one time. That's how good. That's how good he is, and how he had to play to get that award.
And you know what though? You know how you say bias doesn't matter? That's not true. Look at Kobe Bryant. Look at Kobe Bryant. How many MVPs should Kobe Bryant have? And because media did not like him, he didn't get them.
But hold on.
I can pull that card with LeBron James. I can pull that card with James Harden. I can pull that card with a lot of different guys. That doesn't negate the fact, though, that saying that Steph Curry is not top 10 isn't disrespectful.
But Justin brought up the accolades of first-team selection.
But it means something, guys, and I can't hear no G.O.A.T.
The fans voted.
But I let y'all talk the dribble, and they said nothing. I did not interrupt any of the three of you. I sat down and heard the absolute nonsense. So,
I'm trying to defend you here, buddy.
JT, you sat down and now contradicted yourself. You said Kobe Bryant was not liked by the media, so hence why he doesn't have as many MVPs as you think he does. But yet somehow the same media gave him 11 All-NBA teams. There's a reason, JT. There's a reason. These guys didn't coincidentally walk into these awards. These guys are that great. So then we're going to have to find these unquantifiable excuses to vote Steph Curry. So it's like, oh, the media doesn't like him. Oh, well, it's because he's small. Oh, well, he revolutionized the games. These are unquantifiable. You know why all of these men are great? Because they pick up things that are quantifiable, and their performances are so great, they're undeniable. So yes, maybe Steph Curry should have won in 2015 that Finals MVP. I think he should have. That's still won. When LeBron won titles, we never at any point doubted who was the final MVP for 4. We never doubted Mike. We never doubted Magic. So why all of a sudden now we have this guard that we all want to love and we want to move the goalpost conveniently? All of a sudden now it's the media doesn't like Steph. That's absolute trash. And every time we have to support Steph Curry, it is this thing that we cannot quantify. He revolutionized the games. He has kids shooting threes. What the hell does that have to do with ranking him next to Hakeem Olajuwon?
So Justin, hold on. I looked it up. Hakeem Olajuwon has 6. Curry has 4. So you're telling me, okay, the greatest shooter, the greatest three-point shooter, that is a stat. You can't deny that. Hakeem has only 2 more first NBA all-team selections, and he's greater than Curry. That's all I need to know. That's all I want to make sure.
Wait, no. I want to bring this up. Because
MVPs, he has more blocks than anyone.
We've been harping on offense.
Okay, so then take Shaq out of your top 10 since Hakeem owned them in the finals. Both can't be in the top 10. One of those, there's clearly a difference.
Are we discussing Shaq?
Real quick.
3 finals MVP Shaq on the biggest stage showed you why he was the best player in the game.
Real quick.
Who was the Nets center? Tell me who the Nets center was. Who was the Nets center? The Pacers center, Rick Smith. Who was the Nets center?
I
don't even know. Don't even know. He was a power forward, I bet.
Basketball. Matthew Dellavedova was a point guard in those series, and Steph Curry still could not tell you I was the best player.
Question. Just a question.
Means something.
Because LeBron.
Tell me when you're telling me titles mean something, but then when we're playing for it,
I didn't say titles mean anything.
I didn't say that.
When did I say that?
Let me ask you a question.
Biggest stage. No, guys, I did not interrupt y'all. I will not be interrupted now. I sat down for 15 minutes and listened to the absolute drivel. You are telling me
I'm on your side, Justin. I'm on your side.
I know you are, but on the biggest stage, we are telling me that a finals MVP doesn't mean anything. Are we crazy? This is for an NBA title where a player is telling you, I am the best player. And we are all of a sudden moving the goalposts because we like Steph Curry. It is absolute rubbish. The 10 players I name, I'm going to name them all over again. He does not have the accolades of Michael Jordan. He doesn't have them of LeBron James. He doesn't have them of Kobe Bryant. He does not have them of Kareem. He does not have them of Tim Duncan. He does not have them of Magic Johnson. He does not have them of Larry Bird. He does not have them of Shaq. He does not have them of Wilt. Nor does he have them of Olajuwon.
Funny thing about that list is, as much as you love Bill Russell, in 30 years from now, Hakeem and Tim Duncan won't even be thought of as better than Bill Russell.
Let me ask this question just real quick, because there's this crazy thing about basketball that's I think sometimes we forget. Like, it's unlike football and baseball. Well, not really baseball, but it's unlike most other sports we've ever seen. There's 2 sides of the ball. Every guy in my top 10 specifically, and I guess Justin's too, because outside of Bill Russell, I guess it's exactly the same.
I didn't even name Bill Russell.
But you didn't name Bill Russell. Fine. Every guy in my top 10 is better defensively than Steph Curry. Yes,
I'll give you that.
Like that matters.
That's the best argument either one of you two have made.
And I apologize for it taking me about 35 minutes for me to get here. But now that I'm here, let's talk.
Time.
You're right.
I wasn't gonna bring it up.
Shame on me. I don't have enough notes for this. I thought this was going to be a J.
All the notes.
When I really thought this, I'm going to be honest, and I'm gonna put myself out there for a second. And this is what I'm banking on. I was banking on JT and Don being on the opposite side of the fence, and me and Justin getting to sit back and enjoy you two go at it. That's what I was hoping for, and that didn't happen. So now my lack of preparation for this question has come back to bite me in the butt. But seriously, there's 2 sides of the ball. And Kevin Durant, since we spent about 10 minutes talking about Kevin Durant's better defensively than Steph Curry. Like, I can name a lot of guys that are better. So while yes, Steph Curry is the greatest shooter of all time, while yes, there is no one in the history of basketball now or ever that will ever be able to do offensively what Steph Curry do. We have not even probably.
What does that mean?
Let me finish. While we have not yet met, most likely, and never will meet the guy that's going to break Steph Curry's records, because me personally, I think his 3-point record will be up there with Stockton's assist and steals record, where it will never be touched, right? There is another side of the ball. And Justin lists to a whole bunch of all NBA stuff. If I'm not mistaken, Steph Curry has 0 all defensive teams, like first or second. And all the guys in my top 10 have at least 2, if I'm not mistaken. So like that matters as well. And I think, again, and I'm going to keep saying it, and I'm going to say it until I can't be blue, but until I'm purple in the face, right? It's not that I don't think Steph is good. It's not that I'm not acknowledging how great of a talent and how much Steph has revolutionized the game of basketball, because obviously he has. And hold on, Justin. Listen.
No, I'm tired. No,
calm down. Let me finish. I'm on your side. I'm on your side. While I understand all of that, if we were having a conversation about the guys that revolutionized the game of basketball, that is a completely different conversation from who are the best basketball players. Like, who are the guys that are best at playing this game offensively and defensively, where no matter who you put alongside them, he is still going to be great. That is why I don't think Steph is top 10 right now. It has a lot to do with what Justin spent dribbling on and all about all the all NBA teams and the lack of final MVPs, but also has to do with the fact that Steph Curry sucks defensively, which is something that all three of you spent earlier in the show for about 20 minutes telling me, specifically you, Justin, is going to be the reason why the Boston Celtics potentially have a shot at winning these NBA finals, is because Steph Curry is a defensive liability. That matters. And again, Don, you're right. It took me way too long to get to that point. And shame on me. I was making my bet.
That goes back to the size thing, right? Because like Curry nowadays has to play like point against point guards that may be LeBron James. Like, I loved Isaiah Thomas back in the day, but Isaiah Thomas was facing guys like Doc Rivers, right? Doc Rivers, Craig Elo, Mark Price.
Today are LeBron James size.
But what I'm saying is those guys can play, like they can play point. And then since they can handle the ball, you can get them in a pick and roll. Like Tim Duncan ain't getting in a pick and roll as the main ball carrier, right? LeBron is, Kevin Durant is. And back in the day, it was Mark Price brings up the ball. Isaiah Thomas brings up the ball. Doc Rivers brings up the ball. It was never Dominique, bring it up, get in a pick and roll, and we'll get Curry in a bind. Like that happened. Don't get me wrong, it happened, but not like today.
Revolutionized basketball. Hold on, Justin. Talking about you want to talk about revolutionized basketball, that has a lot to do with guys like James, that can handle the ball. That's all. I'm not disagreeing with you, Don. I'm
trying to say is defensively, the emphasis by Steve Kerr and Golden State, they didn't need Curry to be all defensive. They didn't ask him to do that. And his 3-point shooting so good, you can overlook that defense.
So again, since we're in the
this will be the last one. We got more things to talk about tonight.
We're in the business of Steph Curry making excuses. So let's go there. We've made excuses all the way around. So please then tell me, because again, you're looking at accolades and tell me they don't matter. Give me the excuse for why in this era, because we're seeing that Steph Curry is a top 10 player. So it means if you're a top 10 player, I have to believe you dominated your era. Why in the hell in 12 years, since you're so great, you only have 4 first team selections, and the 4th just came the other day.
Hey, how many
are not even dominating? Because you want to tell me he's better than 10 other players.
Listen,
why are you not even dominating your own peers?
How has he not received more than 4? That's really the question, Justin. That's ridiculous. How has he only had 4? The guy's been outstanding for 10 years.
This is what I'll say in Steph Curry's defense, right? Because he's been in the league for 12 years now, 12, 13 years now. He's 13. 13. Okay, so it's been 13 years at this point. So it's been 13 years at this point, right? Okay, there were the last 2 seasons, not including this one, right? There was a whole bunch of injury stuff, so there's that, right? Steph Curry, as we know it, and as great as he's been, and he's only had 2 seasons in his career where he shot below 40% from 3, and that was this year and 2 years ago. Both times he was dealing with injury, and he was still shooting like 38% from 3, right? Steph Curry, as we know it, as the greatest shooter of all time, is this prolific scorer NBA champion that's only existed for 8 years. So it's not, it's in my eyes, and that's why I don't harp on Steph Curry's all NBAs the way that Justin does. In my eyes, that's fine. In my eyes, it's not 4 of 13. In my eyes, it's 4 of 8. And if you take out the 2 years he was hurt, it's really 4 of 6.
But again, so then you can't hold that against the men who actually deserve to be the top 10. So you're telling me, so basically we want to say, oh, he should replace somebody out of the top 10, but the guys in the top 10 don't have the limitations or the absence of accolades that you have. So then what are you
replacing? Red right now because I'm trying to agree with you, and then you.
I understand your point. I'm talking to JT and Don because we're basically saying then, oh well, these accolades don't matter, but he should be above these men who have the accolades that apparently don't matter.
Go ahead.
So you are apparently better than these men. You're not even dominating your own peers. Explain that to me, please. I'm a bit lost here.
Justin, I just told you, Steph Curry's only been in his prime for 8 years, and of those 8 years, he was injured 2 of them. So it's really only 4 of 6.
So then you're going to say then you should hold it against the players who have played, who have.
I'm not holding it against anyone. I'm giving you the defense. The defense is it's not 4 of 13. He's only been in his prime for 8 years. In 2 years,
but he's been in the league for 13. So they can't say, oh well, we can't decide to pick this particular player.
Hey, Justin, before, and I want the legitimate answer after the show, so look it up and we'll talk after the show. How many first-team All-NBA teams, seriously, did Michael Jordan win before he started winning championships? How many? Because he was in the league for, 7 years before he started winning championships, right? He didn't just pop into the league, and he wasn't. Look, I wasn't alive back then. I wasn't even a thought. This was 11 years before I was even a thought. I was still swimming around down under. But if my memory serves me correct from what I've read up on the 80s, Michael Jordan was not a first-team All-NBA player in 84, right? Or 85 or 86, right?
He was a first team in the 80s, in 87,
87. So 84, 85, and 86, the first 3 years of his career, he wasn't an All-NBA player. Okay, so the first 3 years of Steph Curry's career, he wasn't an All-NBA player. Okay, so that shaves off 3 years of Steph Curry's career right there. Jordan also wasn't an All-NBA player the 2 years he retired, and then when he was in Washington. So that shaves off about another, 7 years of Jordan's career.
You don't count those years.
What?
But he didn't play those years. So you can't use.
He also played. Justin, he played in the league after he won championships. He did. He was still playing basketball. Okay. So
he retired in between there. So
take away the 2 years that he retired and Hakeem got his 2 chips. The point that I'm making is Steph Curry's been in his prime for 8 years. So the first 5 years of him not having a first-team All-NBA team means jack squat to me because he wasn't in his prime. He wasn't. He wasn't. And the funny faces you're making while I'm looking at your ceiling.
So then the first 3 years of Larry Bird's career, he's an all first-teamer. We ignore that then?
I'm not ignoring it. No.
But that's what I'm saying. We decide.
You're missing my point, Justin. You're missing my point.
We have a goalpost, and it's strictly for Steph Curry.
No.
So here, when it matters to us, move it over here.
You're not listening. You're not listening to me. You're not listening to me at all. You're not listening to me at all. And JT and Don. Wait a second. Wait a second.
Is this mythical person who
no,
Justin. These excuses that only
guys, by the way, if you're ever wondering why me and this guy don't agree with each other, this is why. This is what happens when we agree. Bad things happen.
This
is why me and Doug can't agree.
Did I not shave a couple years? No. I will press this mute button, Justin. I will press this mute button.
Oh, he gonna PTI you? Oh.
I will press JT and I sat here, right? Okay, and I shaved off about half of Steph Curry's career because he wasn't in his prime and he was hurt. I then also just a couple minutes ago shaved some years off of MJ's career, correct, as well?
Why are we shaving?
I shaved off a couple of years off of Jordan's career, and I shaved a couple years off of Curry's career. Why am I bringing that up? Because, Justin, you're trying to talk to me about inconsistency, and all I'm trying to prove to you is that I've been very consistent, right? You don't want to shave years off of God's career. That's fine. But the first 3 years of Jordan's career, Jordan wasn't Jordan. Jordan was Michael Jordan. He wasn't MJ. He wasn't the guy winning championships. No, he was
Jeffrey.
He was Jeffrey. He was Jeffrey. He wasn't Michael Jordan. He wasn't your airness. He was Jeffrey. Okay. Steph Curry, the first 6 years of his career was Wardell. He wasn't Steph Curry.
All right, I'm done.
Because I'm sick of this. You can't unmute yourself because I did it, buddy. You're gonna have to wait until it's your turn to talk again. Now,
He don't know how to work.
The final starts tomorrow. Game 1 is tomorrow in Golden State for game 1 and game 2. No, who wins? JT, will start with you. JT, who wins game 1 of the NBA Finals and why?
Hey, look, I'm responsible for this mess, so I'm gonna keep it quick. It's the Warriors because Boston is tired and they're probably gonna be nervous. So I'm gonna just go with the Warriors.
Done.
I'm going to go with the Celtics because I think history has shown Golden State starts off slow. You look at 2015, took them to overtime to win. 2016, Cavs won. 2018, remember that was the J.R. Smith debauchery game at the end of game 1 that went to overtime. Probably Cavs should have won. And then in 2019, they lost game 1 to Toronto. Golden State, for all the stuff that I said about Steph Curry, that Golden State starts off slow. Usually it takes Steph a little bit of time to get in the groove. So I'm going game 1, Boston. Plus, they're coming off that game 7. Just everything seems right for Golden State to win, including the public betting Golden State. So that means Boston's going to win.
Another
no, we're not doing this. Justin, who's winning game 1 and why?
Next question, Justin.
Because, well, home court's not going to matter. Boston already has 7 road wins in these playoffs. I think that's a record for the first 3 rounds. So home court really doesn't matter game 1. I suspect Golden State because they're more rested, and Boston just came off of successive 7-game series that went the distance. You had to play Milwaukee and Miami. Golden State has the extra days of rest, the extra days of practice, and they don't have the jitters that Boston will have. So I expect Golden State to win game 1.
I also have Golden State winning game 1 because of everything that JT said. I do agree with you, Don, and Justin. Home court doesn't matter because the Boston Celtics have 7 road victories, which is just about as many home victories as Golden State does in the playoffs. They have 9. But you're flying cross country. They didn't get to Golden State until I think yesterday. Well, they got there Monday, but they obviously didn't do anything on Monday. I think that's going to matter a little bit. And while historically Golden State does start off slow, I think the lethargy of the cross country trip and also 2 straight 7-game series is gonna keep it kind of tight in game 1. I think Golden State wins. With all that being said, we don't have to call
they're young guys.
They're young guys. It probably won't matter. But when it's all said and done, we will have a champion in about a week and a half time. Real quick, who's winning and why? And in how many games? Doesn't matter who goes.
Go first. I'll go first. I think it's the Warriors just because everything you guys just argued about for the past hour, they're actually still hungry because they know there's people out there saying this exact thing about them, that their dynasty is illegitimate. So they know that. Like, it's not just you guys. So I think they're still hungry, and I also think that Boston is young, and Don always says this, those young guns got to go through all this failure before they can succeed, so I'm going to buy it this time. And also, I just don't think Golden State has any time for these like BS rookie dreams that Boston might have. Like, Golden State's here to be in business. So I'm going to go with the Warriors, and I'm going to say the Warriors going to win in 4.
We're done.
Wow.
Oh, everybody froze?
It pains me. It pains me to say this, but I think Boston wins in 7. I just think that, man, you look at the history, even for all the stuff I said about Steph Curry again, like, history just shows Golden State never has an easy time in the finals. And Boston's defense will be the difference. And I think Marcus and Justin didn't think Jayson Tatum's a superstar. Well, guess what? I mean, superstar, right? Not just a star, like superstar. Like, he is going to be one of the faces of the NBA in the future. And that time's already here. And I think he is ready to like take over. And I just think that, again, Golden State gets off the slow starts. In Boston, there's something about this team now. JT, you mentioned like they're young guys. They are. But guess what? Jayson Tatum's been through 5 game 7s now in his career. Like, they've taken their lumps. Remember that game 7 without Kyrie? Like, they've learned this is not a young team anymore. And they've shown they can get through injuries, and they've shown that Tatum can lead them offensively finally. So unfortunately, it pains me to say this. I'm rooting for Golden State, but I think Boston wins again in 7.
So we got JT's got Warriors in 4, Don's got Boston in 7. Justin, you got Warriors or Boston, and then how many?
Whew. This is going 7. That's what I know for sure. And it's to Don's point. So I'm going to give you all a little stuff here. The reason we created the show 2 years ago, we wanted to get away from generalizations like, you know, who wants it more, who's hungry, legacy, and all that stuff. We wanted to get away from those terms. And that's why we created a show for educational purposes. That's why you like to see.
But you're going to try to tell the children that Bill Russell's top 10 all time. Let's get out of here.
But so the reason I think Boston matches up so well with Golden State, and you saw it in the Brooklyn series. I told Dwayne and he didn't want to hear me. Brooklyn's defenders are long. Their perimeter defenders are all long, big, physical, and just faster than Golden State. When you talk about Marcus Smart, we talk about Jaylen Brown, we talk about Jayson Tatum. And that's why you saw them so good against the Nets, because that's a perimeter-based attack. Boston has problems defending players like Giannis and Jimmy Butler because they're bigger physical players who like that physicality, who like to take it to paint. If you're running around shooting threes, and on top of that, Boston has no weak links in that starting fight, like absolutely none in terms of defense. They can switch everything and don't care. They match up well against Golden State. I wanted to pick Boston, especially when I saw the stat and I put it in my timeline just for Dwayne Marcus. Steph Curry, apparently since 2017, being guarded by Marcus Smart, is shooting 9 of 27 for that's something like 30 little percent from the field. 33%.
How many times did he guard him in the finals?
Well, we're going to see it. No.
0. Thank you.
There we go.
I'm done with you, Justin. 0. He's guarded him 0 times in the finals. 0.
I am going to see Golden State in 7 only because as much as I love Boston's defense, I hate their offense even more. It is too ISO heavy. I don't think that beats Golden State 4 games in 7. Golden State in 7 because they have the better offense.
Wait. It's going to be Warriors in 6. I have them winning game 1. I have them winning game 4, 5, and 6. I think I don't see. I love Boston. This series could easily go 7, right? Boston hasn't lost back-to-back, like Don talked about earlier. Boston hasn't lost back-to-back games since at sometime in January. That ends at some point in this series. Golden State's better than Brooklyn, obviously. Golden State's better than Milwaukee. Golden State is better than Miami. This is the best third-quarter team in basketball. This is one of the best crunch time teams in basketball. For the course of these playoffs, Boston has struggled in the third quarter. They have been the worst crunch time team in the fourth quarter as well. At some point, I think that's going to bite them in the butt. This is when it bites them in the butt. I'm not going to put. I have been, and I've been, I'm going to sit here and say I shouldn't have. I've been putting a little bit too much emphasis on the 123-0 thing, the 123 games to no games. I've been putting a little bit too much emphasis on that. Golden State's just a better team. It's not just Steph, Clay, and Dre this time around. It's Steph, Clay, Dre, and Jordan Poole, and Andrew Wiggins, and surprisingly Kevon Looney. Like there's a lot of weapons in Golden State. And should this even go 7, I still like Golden State's chances. It takes an all-time great. I know Don doesn't think he is, or maybe it was JT. I don't remember which one. I think it's JT actually, because it's usually JT that disagrees with me. It usually takes an all-time great player to beat the Warriors in the finals, and the Celtics don't have one. Is that their fault? No. But it's hard to beat an all-time great team and all-time great talent if you don't have your own all-time great talent on your team yourself. Rookie head coach, I've loved Ime Udoka. I think he's been the best coach in the playoffs. This going to 7 is an easy answer because these are 2 really good teams. But the thing that really that I have been putting a lot of emphasis on is we rant and rave about Boston's defense. but through 100 possessions throughout the course of the season, not just the postseason, Golden State's allowed 100.6 points. Like this is we've done a lot of talking about all the switching and all the greatness of Boston's defense, but we haven't done a lot of talking about Golden State defense. These are defenses 1 and 2 going at it in the finals, but the one difference is I like Golden State's offensive firepower just a little bit more. I think it's more reliable and it's more consistent, and they've been here before, and I think that's what matters. I got Warriors in 6. What's up, Don?
They're number 1 and 2 in defensive efficiency, both of them.
Both of them, yeah.
What's right, up? That's what Marcus said. But Marcus, I want to point out though what JT said earlier. They played a Dallas team that everything goes through Luka, pounding around, and that first round, Jokic, same thing. Like those are not explosive, get up and down the court offenses. So when they get behind, they start getting out of their element with 3-pointers, and those aren't really known as three-point shooting teams.
That's true.
So I see where you're going with that comparison, but don't be fooled. Sometimes the numbers can be skewed or can be deceiving. If you're telling me, hey, just straight up, what defense would you rather have? Forget offenses and team records and players on it. I'm taking Boston's defense
they have the best
over Golden State's defense.
That one makes sense.
And I would remind you, because you're young, back in 2004, Detroit Pistons, did they have a superstar?
They didn't.
No, but why did they win? Because they had such a well-rounded team. And I'm not saying Golden State can't compete. I'm not saying that at all. And they might win it in 5. It might be a gentleman's sweep. But what I'm saying with Boston is, again, don't underestimate Tatum and don't underestimate that defense, because we have seen it work before, especially against Golden State.
This is, and I've been saying this all week, really, because I've had Boston going to the finals since Game 4 of their series. This is going to be the toughest and also the most entertaining finals since 2016. Like this, and this might even, and I don't think it'll surpass it just because of the dramatics in the back half of the 2016 finals, but this is going to be a tough series to call. Like, I'm picking the Warriors, but like, it's not far-fetched to see Boston winning in 6 or Boston winning in like 5, 6, or 7, because this is such a deadly matchup on both sides. Like, this is the worst possible matchup for Golden State, but I think in a way it's also the worst possible matchup for Boston. Like, because, and Justin talked about this on Monday, and it's the last thing I'll say before we go, like, yes, they can do all the switching, all the stuff, but like, when you're running around for 48 minutes a game all the time, trying to keep up with Steph and Clay and like, that's going to wear on you at some point. And you're right, they are young, and so maybe it won't. But we've also forgot that the Warriors did have to get past the Memphis Grizzlies, who, while they are not as prolific of a defense as the Boston Celtics, or not as that much prolific of an offense as the Boston Celtics, they do still move up and down the floor. They do still play a pretty physical defense. Like
no John Morant like the last 3 games, though. That's a huge difference.
And I will tell you this:
spanked by 50 in one of those games without John Morant.
I'll tell you this also:
through the end of the series,
Golden State is a high turnover team, and high turnovers with live ball turnovers. Boston is absolutely the worst team to have live ball turnovers with. As I said, this is going to be a lot closer than a lot of people think. I want to pick Boston, but that ISO-heavy offense is a problem. But those live ball turnovers, for those who are watching, just remember, Boston is going to feast on those.
It's going 7. Sorry, JT. 4-game sweep.
No,
hey, I'm
you got to check his credentials at the door next time, man.
Hey, I'm the only one bold enough to put my name on it.
Sweep.
Everybody's like 7. I picked this team, but I can easily see it being this other team. Like, stop hedging your bets. Like,
I got Boston in 7. I don't want to pick it, but I am.
GQ Marcus was just saying, hey, I picked this team in 7, but I could easily see it being this other team. I think it might be this team. I'm just saying 4. But the reason I am is probably because I have prison of the moment. Like, y'all want to talk about all this stuff about how Miami got beat down. You know why that series was 7 games? Because Boston is not that great of a shooting team. They struggle on offense and they're streaky. And Golden State, for all the numbers you guys want to throw out there, Golden State is the worst matchup for streaky scoring teams. Because once they go up by 20, good night.
You gotta understand. JT always says I'm salty, right? He always says I'm salty. Blah blah.
You are.
JT is that answer right there. It didn't occur to me. Now I know why. I look at that hat. That's why he said Golden State in a sweep. They just beat your team. Get over it, bro. Quit being
No.
salty. Quit being salty.
We should have lost. We shouldn't even been in Game 7. Jimmy Butler said my body can't survive OT. I'm gonna shoot this three.
Probably should have lost in 5.
I think
Austin let you hang around. You should have lost in 5.
This is gonna
if they could shoot, they would have swept us.
This is gonna be a close one. Unfortunately, Justin's gonna be on the show before the game on Saturday to react to Game 1, so I'll have to sit through another at least 30 minutes of that. Hopefully, I can get JT and the Don back on the show before the finals over. If not, they will be back on the show in the off season to talk about JT's Dolphins and Don's Steelers. I so can't wait for that Steelers.
That'll be a quick episode.
It's going to be a fantastic show talking about the Steelers, and I think it's whatever. It's going to be a great show.
It's not good. I just want people to know Tua Tagovailoa is not good. You can continue now.
You better be careful. They're gonna come for you.
He's not good. He'll be on the bench by week 5. Anyway, JT and Don, please let everybody know where they can find you and all you guys' content.
JT and the Don All Sports Podcast. You can find us on all the major platforms for the podcast, and follow us on social media at, as you see JT pointing, at JT and the Don, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all that good stuff. JT does a great job. Probably the only great job he does, as you saw from tonight. A sweep. Get out of here.
Justin, I don't want to because you've been a royal pain in my side tonight, especially a lot more than usual, but it is my contractual duty to do so. Tell everybody where they can find you and what's up next.
If y'all want the numbers, you want the stats and less of the sentiment, let's come over, hashtag thisJUSTin, put in the hashtag.
Bill Russell in your top 10's not sentiment?
I gave you stats. You just want to turn a blind eye to it. The greatest shooter of all time. Look up the numbers.
Let that man tell where they can find him.
I know. Sorry.
So as venomous as I was tonight, let's please understand all 3 of these guys are indeed my friends, and all 3 of these guys have been on my show. But honestly, hashtag thisJUSTin. Please put in the hashtag. None of us, and that's why I took it to heart when Dwayne said it was like Max Kellerman, want to be taken to Max Kellerman. That's hashtag thisJUSTin. Every Monday night, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. We are live on YouTube, and you can find us on Instagram. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us on Facebook. Hashtag thisJUSTin. That's all I can say.
Well, listen, it was a pleasure having these guys on the show. It was a blast of a show. Well over 60 minutes, but whatever, it was good stuff on YouTube, on Twitch, and on Twitter. Justin says at the top of all of his shows that he has the best live show on the net, and then he forgot that I do live shows too, so I had to come back live to remind him who really has the best live show on the net, and that's me. Follow me on all things. As you guys know, GGP Marcus on everything. I love all of these gentlemen. I appreciate all of you guys for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure. So for JT and the Don, and for Justin, the hashtag thisJUSTin Sports Show, this is Marcus of Go Talk with Marcus signing off. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, you guys enjoy the rest of your lives.
Steph Curry's number 13 all time.